Many of you have asked about the title for this series, Miracle Machine. How did I choose it? What does it mean? Well, it came from trying to find the core of what I really wanted to say with this series. The meaning is in the tension we feel when a new technology threatens something that we've always done the old-fashioned way. Now, we've done this before, but AI is different. It doesn't just threaten physical work or low-level mental work, but it threatens the very work that once defined what it meant to be a human. For me, a miracle isn't about religion, it's about consciousness. Science can't fully explain how we get an idea and then bring that idea into the physical world. That act of creation, turning thought and emotions into reality, is a miracle. And for the longest time, we were the only miracle generators on the planet. We've gotten so used to our own magic through songs and stories and drawings that it's easy to forget that it's miraculous. But it is. Now we've built machines that produce things that look an awful lot like magic. The technology is impressive and powerful, but is it a miracle? I don't know. I don't think so. Not yet, anyway. But here's what I do know for sure. No matter what a computer becomes capable of, we can't lose sight of this one imperative fact. We are still human. We are still capable of producing magic with our own minds and hands. And it doesn't matter if a computer can paint better than I can. If I do it, even poorly, it still is a kind of magic. And maybe that's what AI will help us all realize one day, when we're bored with its greasy, slick videos and vibey songs and impossibly sugary paintings. We'll realize that the magic was in us all along. That fake magic, executed perfectly, is no match for real magic, even if it's done clumsily. And there's no better place to see that tension between fake and real magic than in the world of filmmaking. That's why, for my first guest, I've brought in someone who lives and breathes that world. He's a filmmaker, collaborator, and a very good friend of mine. So let's welcome Jason Skipper to the show.
This tea is great. What kind of tea is this?
This is Egyptian licorice. Licorice.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really smooth in the throat.
Yeah, I don't usually like licorice, but this isn't like traditional licorice.
Yeah, it's more like chill.
Yeah, I learned something new.
Yeah, it's a little bit sweet, but not too sweet.
Did you add any sweetener to it? You shitting me.
No, licorice is a natural sweetener.
Oh,
It's it's not from sugar. It's it's not stevia either. It's this other thing, and it's naturally sweet.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I wonder, there's this other tea that I've had. It's called like sweet something. And it doesn't have any sugar listed in the contents. And forever, Lex and I were wondering, like, how do they get so sweet? We would always try to find it. And I wonder if it's that. I bet you this was one of the ingredients. That's amazing. Yeah. I love that.
Is it sweet and spicy from Good Earth?
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah.
That's the one.
That is it. All right, cool, man. So thanks for joining me on this.
Yeah.
It's a real pleasure having you on. And I guess for the benefit of anybody who doesn't know you, go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your full name and what do you do?
Sure. I don't look at the camera for this, do I?
Nah.
Yeah, so Jason B. Skipper. I add the B because there are other Jason Skippers out there. I have multiple trades. Right now I'm just a driver. I don't like to think about my primary occupation is what I do, though. I'm a short filmmaker. I feel like I can officially claim that now since I've won some awards for my short films.
Yeah. Congratulations again about that. Yeah. So it was the 48-hour Portland Film Festival. Is that the name of it?
Yeah, or the 48-hour film project, Portland edition. So they have it all over the world.
Got it. So yeah, you submitted a film to that and you got best film.
Yeah. super happy about that. Super happy about that. Yeah, that'll be in playing at Filmapalooza in March. So that'll be fun. Yeah. And aside from that, I'm just a creative. I play guitar and I'm into music as well. And personal growth is a big thing for me right now. And I feel like that's a very important thing for everybody. So I do a lot of reading and self-reflection and self-discovery. And, sometimes that includes plant medicine. And yeah, that's my jam.
That's awesome, man. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Yeah, you hit on so many things that I'm really interested in and things that I want to talk about on this podcast, which is creativity, art, especially visual arts, but also music, and then personal development. Like you said, I think that AI, if anything, it's going to force people to reckon with like who they are as a person, not even just as a creative person or even as a someone who has a job, but just like what does it mean to be a human being when there's these things called AIs that might challenge our intellectual supremacy as human beings on this planet.
Mm, yeah, no, I hear you there. The first thing that comes to my mind, I mean, when I think of AI, is that I will say that I have used it as a tool, and for things as an assistant, with kind of coming up with some ideas. I'll spit something in a chat GPT like I have an idea for this, or what is it? What's the meaning of this, or what's a different way of thinking about this, or something, and just having kind of using it as a assistant to bounce ideas off of. So I am guilty of using it.
Well, yeah, I would hopefully remove a lot of the stigma around that because I do know that, like in my sphere, a lot of people I know who are artists will absolutely shut down if you talk about AI around them
Mhm.
because I mean, it's just, I mean, whether admit it or not, like AI is a better, if not artist, it's a better illustrator than 99% of artists or illustrators out there.
Mhm.
At least faster and cheaper, that's for sure.
Mhm.
And so it's definitely challenging for a lot of people, and a lot of people don't want to hear about it. But one of the things I want to do for this podcast is sort of um, try to look at AI like straight on and not try to put our heads in the sand about like, oh, it's good, it's bad. It's just a blanket statement. Oh, it's bad,
Mhm.
and so we should talk about it. And I don't want to do that. So, yeah, I think I'm really interested to hear like what you've done with AI for your creative work. Because I think that
Mhm.
no matter what AI does, as long as we as human beings sort of maintain sort of this directorial or executive mindset above it so that we're telling it what to do,
Mhm.
that's going to be better than just letting AI do whatever it does and then try to put our signature on it. Because I think that's the wrong way to go about it.
Totally. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, using it as a tool, not letting it become a master. Um, yeah, a couple things come to my mind there. So, yeah, you were talking about AI kind of being a better artist than 99% of the people potentially. And it did make me think about like, better or whatever, or cleaner. That's kind of subjective or objectionable too, right? And it kind of got me thinking like, about, well, yeah, what's better, what's clean, what looks good. And I wonder if things that are more kind of ugly or gritty might begin to maybe be more of a trend then. I don't know that AI will always be able to like keep up with just the imperfect human uh aspect. Um
Yeah, it does tend to always do things, I don't know, a little perfect. Even if it's emulating, like, I don't know if you played with Mid Journey, but it can emulate even those like grungy, messy art styles.
mm,
And it's interesting to see, like, it's one of the things I think about, like, is how where is there going to be a niche for humans making art when AI is going to be better at it than anybody else?
mm,
And
mm,
and that idea does come to mind, like, oh, like that the imperfection, right? That comes with something that's handmade. Um, but AI is really good at learning those imperfections too and reproducing them in a very believable way.
Mm,
Um, which kind of makes me think that the only art that's going to be respected as human made art is art when you know that it's made by a human because you literally watched the human make it.
mm,
Because
mm.
otherwise, like, how are you going to know if it was actually made by a human or not?
Yeah, that could start getting real existential. Yeah. Um, I feel like we'll have to really maybe tap into some of our intuition or something. So I, along those lines, I also think about films that I've seen, or yeah, there's been things that I've seen. Well, and I know you have too, where you can tell that AI was involved, right? Or AI was used, and it makes me wonder if our intuition will just get better, or I there's still something about just the fakeness of AI, or the lack of humanity in it, that seems detectable. Um, mm,
Yeah, I agree with you. There's something not right
yeah,
about AI video, especially. What? So you're probably more involved in the like short film festival scene and things like that than I am. I've been to a handful of short film festivals over the past year or two, and a lot of them are animation based. And yeah, I see an AI used in them. And as soon as I see that it's AI, like my interest in it actually plummets.
mm-hmm. I agree, and mine does as well. So, I mean, yeah.
Even though it's weird because if I had seen that same video 10 years earlier before I even had a hint that AI video was going to be a thing, I would have thought, oh, that's really cool. I want to see more of that.
Mm, mm-hmm. It is interesting. So it's almost like there's this pre kind of like bias in us. I could say maybe in me too. That sounds similar to a reaction I might have had years ago. I may have been like very interested in stuff, but now it's being so prevalent, and like now it's becoming so common, that I think that the human stuff is really um where I'm drawn. Um, yeah. You asked earlier about like my usage of it, and um yeah, I have used it in the past to kind of help with story, creating a story. Um but that's as far, as I let it go, um for now. Um
So, like stories that you want to turn into short films.
mhm. Yeah, yeah.
What has that process been like for you? Have you been happy with what it spits out first go, or have you had to massage it a
No,
lot?
there's lots of massaging that needs to get done. Um, yeah, lots of massaging.
Yeah, that's been my experience as well. Where I've basically had to completely gut and rewrite
mm,
everything that
mm,
ChatGPT has spit out.
yeah, yeah. I kind of like to think of it a little bit too as like just a mirror, a sounding board, and I spit things at it, and it spits things back. Um, and yeah, just refine it. So yeah, I'm not opposed to it in that respect. But
Yeah, I think that you make a good point. Like where because you're the editor, you're the director, you're the person in charge of your creative vision. It's like you can't just allow it to do whatever it wants to do. You have to be
mm,
watching it. It's almost like you hired an intern fresh out of college to
mm-hmm,
to do some stuff, and you look at it and you're like, maybe there's some bare bones stuff I can work with here, but I'm
mm-hmm.
gonna have to pretty much redo all this work.
Yeah. Yeah, and that does make me think about there have been times where I could see the potential of getting lazy, or of letting it kind of take over. It's a very interesting feeling. And I think it just comes with like awareness. Um
Not to interrupt you, but in the same vein of where you're going with that, where it's like there is this sort of almost a temptation to be lazy with it. Um, do you see would like is do you see it's, if it's possible that you would be interested in a film festival where it's all AI generated? Because I know for me
Mm,
personally, it's like maybe a morbid curiosity and like what's actually like what are people actually doing with this? But for the most part, like I'm not that interested in seeing what people have made with AI.
no, I mean, I'm not. Similarly, maybe the morbid part, but I don't even know if I would be that interested to that degree. Um, yeah, I mean, for me, whenever I've used it, I'm having, I'm having to make sure that I'm aware of like, okay, like what is my, creative vision? Like when you create something, it's not just like, I'm not just like spitting out nonsense. Like, you know, f- the creative process for me is like, to me, it's like tapping into a flow. It's like it's kind of like almost like to get wooey, you're like downloading stuff from the universe and like messages or something and like a story and you're trying to like convey it or a story from like my own life experiences. That's generally what I try to do is pull things from things that I know. I pull from like what I know and like what is real and resonant with me. Um, so and if I just used had AI like take that over, it would no longer be what I'm trying to say. So um, for me, it's tempting, but as long as I'm staying true to and aware of like what my intention is and the meaning of why I'm doing this, it can never really take over.
Mm.
And that's why any artist I think does stuff is you're trying to pull something from like a rudimentary like deep levels and like deep or high, however you might think about it. It's like, and you're trying to say things or convey things that can't be conveyed in like in words, or I mean, poetry tries to convey those things in words. Um, but yeah, these for me, I believe that that creative process is just it's much deeper than just what some machine can try to simulate. Um, and I wouldn't be doing if I just let things AI take over everything. It'd be pointless for me to even do anything. That you know, um,
Yeah, I love that because it really calls into question like what are we even using AI for? Like are we using it as a creator or are we using it as a consumer? And it's like if you're using it as a consumer, why do you want to just consume what an AI made when you could consume what another human made? If you're using it as a creator, there might be room for it, but yeah, it's still I feel like the work that goes into making something, like the craft, it like gives it its meaning. And if
mhm,
you just replace all of that with an AI, it's like, what are you actually doing then? Um,
mm,
it kind of reminds me of, I should look this up, like, because I, I remember from reading Rainbow when I was a kid, there was, have you ever seen the one where they do the magic
I've seen
paintbrush?
all of them.
Do you remember the story of the magic
I
paintbrush?
don't
I
remember
think
that
it's an
though.
ancient Chinese parable, I want to say. But the idea was like this kid gets this magic paintbrush, and whatever you paint comes to life, but it doesn't come to life until you've painted like the last, like the pupil in the eye, or maybe even the glint of a highlight in the eye, and then it would come to life. And so this kid paints a bird, and then he drops the last drop into the eye, and then it comes to life.
Mhm.
And I'll have to read the story again because I don't remember like what the message was or anything like that. But um, also reminds me of like, so I studied 3D animation and digital sculpture, 3D modeling. And one of the things that I noticed with that is that it's very easy to trick yourself into thinking that the 3D model is done if you render it too early. Like if you set up the lights, right, and you hit render and it calculates all the shadows and the lights and the highlights and the subsurface scattering, all the nerdy stuff, like it makes an image look real. If you do that too soon, you'll trick yourself into thinking the model is done because, oh, look, it's all the shadows and the highlights and the lighting. It looks so real. It looks
Mhm.
so good, but it's not a finished model yet. So
Mhm.
there's you have to be mindful of like, is this actually good before you hit render, so you don't fool yourself into thinking it's better than it is.
Mhm.
And I think that's
Mhm.
going to be the trick with AI, is where it's so easy to make something look
Mhm.
finished, but
Mhm.
is the idea actually fleshed out yet? And if you're, I think that comes with work, that comes with effort to flesh out that idea.
Yeah. Oh, I liked it a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of things I think I can relate to that. Yeah, even in my world too. Or, yeah, any kind of art you can. There's the rendering out, or in a film, I might do like the first cut and render it out to see how it goes. Be like, oh yeah, that's good. Um, Music could be the same. Yeah, it's really interesting. Um, have you seen is it called Harold and the Purple Crayon? Or there's a book and they turn it into a movie.
I don't think I've seen that.
You might enjoy the movie. It's pretty interesting. It's similar to this purple crayon brings things to life. Um, yeah, it's pretty fun. But anyway, back to that. Yeah, when is something actually done?
So with AI, I feel like sometimes one way to think about it is where, especially when it comes to AI video making, um, you could maybe think of yourself as the director or the writer director, and the AI is just your studio, right? The writer director doesn't do all the makeup and the effects and the costumes and the set design. Somebody else handles that. And so, what's the difference between AI and someone with a lot of money that can pay a studio to do all the filmmaking work? And I think there's maybe not necessarily a huge difference in some ways. I think there's a big difference in a lot of ways. Like one way is just financially, like who has the money to hire a studio to make a film for them.
Mhm.
um Maybe AI will be good in that regard, where filmmakers can actually do things that were financially prohibitive before. But then I think if most people were given $100 million to make a film and a studio with everybody to make it for them, most people wouldn't actually make a good film, because most people don't have good ideas or good vision, or at least like they're not practiced at it.
Yeah.
Maybe if they devoted themselves to 5 to 10 years of intensely studying film, maybe they would be in a position to make a good film. But um,
Mhm.
is do you see that as a potential benefit to filmmaking, where everybody can be a writer director and the AI actually responds like a competent studio bringing your vision to life?
Mm. Your question is kind of do I think that is a good thing or be better? Is that
Could it be a good thing? Yeah, is there potential there?
Yeah, I I I would say yes. I mean, when it comes down to it, I mean, I think uh, any anything that is feels helpful or encourages um, creativity or creation. Um, yeah, it could be good. Uh, any of this stuff could be good. It's just I feel like it's like with anything, it's just a temptation. You could go down a wrong road or not. As long as you're aware, you just have to have awareness around it. And I like the idea of it kind of opening more doors for people. I don't see that as a bad thing. And just maybe creating more kind of healthy competition between like what's good film or whatever, what's bad film. People are always gonna have their tastes and like what they like or don't like. I think maybe it'll just become kind of more. You just have to become more refined and kind of in in your tastes and your process. Yeah. yeah, I don't like to bash on anything or it's all in I really believe it's like all in what we make it. Um, you know, it maybe it is a bit of like uh, kind of a crass analogy, but like giving a gun to a baby or something though, where y- they're not like we're not maybe fully aware or like um responsive and full have full responsible capabilities of like handling it yet. But that will come with time. Um, yeah. It's like a power or like a tool or a power and just it requires a lot of responsibility and awareness and um so yeah, it's up to people how they want to use it, but
Yeah, I like to balance my optimism and pessimism because I like to do a lot of both of it. And, you know, part of me is so maybe as an analogy, like over the past like 10 years, seeing like because now everybody has a smartphone in their pocket, everybody can make a short film anytime they want to, really. Maybe not with all the special effects or high budget costumes and set design, but
mm,
a lot of people could make a short film every day and not even think about it. It's financially negligible to
mm,
make a short film now,
I think that's good.
and and I think that's a good thing too. But what's interesting about it is that I think before I like when I was a teenager and having a video camera was not really feasible for me at least within my budget. Um, I used to think, oh man, if only I had a camera with me, I'd make so many films and stuff. And now I have a camera that is way better than any camera I could have got in the '90s, and I'm not doing jack shit with it.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is also looking at the people who are doing stuff with it, like and TikTok now is the the medium that people are making film in. That's like where a lot of film goes. Film. And not to put it down, I think there's a lot of crap, but there's some good stuff that rises to the top too. And some of the conventions of the TikTok film don't really resonate with me. They're not things that I grew up with, like
Mm,
filters that they use or the portrait orientation is weird to me. But that's what kids are growing up with these days, so that's what they're doing.
mm-hmm,
And so I just wonder, like, even if AI video to me and where it goes in the future seems like a waste of time or it's a waste of the medium or nothing interesting is being made with it. um I think it might be healthy to think like, okay, this I didn't grow up with this, but maybe somebody who grows up with this will see potential in it that I don't see and might even make a great film that I might not even recognize as
mm-hmm,
great, but from their perspective, they're really engaging their mind. They're really um, placing themselves in a director role where they're making decisions and they're not just letting the AI make decisions, but they're really conscious about what their artistic vision is and how they're executing on it. And it might be actually a great medium for a lot of people in the future. I don't know. It's hard to say.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. There's a couple of things that come to my mind when you say that. One was, yeah, that makes me think of like there is this thing of, we're getting kind of older now. I think we're in our 40s, right? And yeah, and I'm kind of seeing how um I'm really seeing that thing that happens, when you get older, and like I saw with my parents, where you kind of want things to be a certain way, or like, oh, like good old days, or this or that, or um, and and now I try to keep that in mind for myself, like not putting any limits or like judgments on what's coming now, and like letting the younger generation and everything, like giving them breathing room to grow into that and like figure it out for themselves. And so I kind of try to be um, aware of that. So not, yeah, holding judgment that way. Um, yeah. And I like thinking about what you're saying about like, oh, everybody can do it from their pockets and TikTok and, YouTube and all that. And yeah, I think that that's great. I think that's great that it's more accessible for people that want to do it, even if it's garbage. And a lot of it's garbage, in my opinion, just in my opinion. Yeah, and I think that like, the cream of the crop will always kind of rise to the surface and all the crap will fall to the side. And you know, you, you talk about TikTok and stuff, and I've probably seen like three TikTok videos in my life, and so
Same.
I don't even pay any attention to it anyway either. So like that's me showing like, I mean, that's me having sovereignty over like what I'm choosing to even engage with. And I think, and again, that's one of the things it comes down to is just like people having making the choice, just making the choices for themselves of like what they even want to consume and what they like. Um, yeah, I think that a lot of this is just is really going to force people to just have to be more in tune with um, what they like and authenticity and yeah, and what they're consuming and just a lot of discernment and authenticity and it's going to be involved um, in all of it. Yeah, that's kind of a good thing as well.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. The whole thing of like confronting your own artistic vision and like being authentic with it, I think is really important. And I think it's something that anybody in any time period, in any age, with any technology can do. Because I feel like humanity has, maybe not to get too woo woo about it, but like a creative spirit, right? There's something in us that wants to express itself, that wants to communicate with other people, that wants to um, create the ineffable. And regardless of what media is in front of you, what media you consumed, what's the tools you have in front of you, that creative spirit will express itself somehow. Whether the tools you have in front of you are AI, whether it's a old fashioned film camera, whether it's claymation, whatever it is, um, I'm optimistic that the human spirit will express itself, even if it's in a medium that I don't understand. I remember when I was in college, I started college in the 90s, and I liked making digital art. And I was one of the first students at my university that ever thought about making digital art. And so I had these traditional art classes where they're like teaching us, composition by cutting out pieces of colored paper.
Hmm.
And I would get on the computer and I would make stuff. And my teachers, this is some of their first times ever seeing digital art. And one of the teachers in particular was adamant that it was impossible to create art on a computer.
Hmm. Mm.
And I was like, wow,
Mm.
that's a different perspective. I don't agree with that perspective because I know that I've made art on a computer before.
Mm.
I'm not here to like prove you wrong, but I want to make
Yeah.
art with a computer, and so that's what I'm going to do. And I don't know if I ever like converted him to my way of thinking. Like I think I remember getting an A in the class too, but
Right. Yeah, there's that generational kind of gap thing where like, ah, you can't do that. That's not art or that's not this or that, but then you're the younger generation kind of coming in like with a whole new reality. It's just different, whole different reality and perspective.
yeah, exactly. So that's why like my instinct is to say, "Oh no, you can't make art with AI." But I also want to check that instinct and be like, "Well, maybe you can." Like if humans have an innate creative spirit and AI is the tool that they're using, how are they not going to make art? Or at least some people. How are how is it that at least some people aren't going to make art?
Right. Yeah, I mean, man, it's really gets me thinking about the idea of AI in general. Like it's artificial intelligence, like intelligence. I guess it is interesting to think about AI as a tool for creativity, and that it is in in what way does it distinguish itself from other things. Like we think of like a paintbrush camera and everything. Those are all tools. There's a wide variety of tools. AI is kind of different, and I haven't maybe thought so much about the difference of it as a tool, because it's not any kind of physical thing. It's like, in the name it says intelligence. It's like um, it's almost like a, a, a person, another person or thing giving input. Um, hmm,
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. There's something kind of uncanny about it because it's like the first technology that's really challenged human intellectual superiority. Before we had the Industrial Revolution, and so, okay, there's machines, and they challenge our human strength. They maybe even challenge our dexterity and our craft. But there's always a human in charge of the machine.
yeah, the mind
Yeah.
part has always been there. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, you bring that up. Yeah, her body's been kind of challenged with the machines. Yeah, and every maybe other aspect of human capability has kind of been able to be enhanced or like replaced when necessary with tools. But the mind, I feel like, has kind of always been the last thing, and now maybe that's the last thing to be uh, replicated or replaced.
Yeah, yeah, it makes me think. So, is there another stage above, like, intelligence that humans possess that the machines are going to be coming after us to replace us after intelligence? And I would say that like human, like our soul, our creativity, our spirit, whatever word you want to use for soul or spirit, wisdom, like those are things I think are even a layer above intelligence. But is our computers going to come for that next?
Man, that is great. That's a great question. I'm glad that we got here with that. Um, are they going to be coming for that next? I don't think I don't think they ever came. We came for it. We came for our own minds. We're trying to replace ourselves. Um, so I guess I mean, I feel like the question is, are we gonna go for it? Or like, are we gonna try to replace or mimic our own soul and spirit?
And then why would we do that? Why would we give that up? Like, I feel like even when it was before AI, right? Before when there were computers or even just machines doing manual labor, like knitting or weaving or whatever his machines did, um, there may have been some people who thought, "Oh, well, that's it. There's literally nothing left for me to do. I'm just gonna
Mm,
sit back and drink scotch because there's nothing left for me to do." And of course, they were wrong. There's lots of levels above that what those machines could do that humans should be doing. Um, let's say hypothetically they do create an artificial spirit or an artificial wisdom, an artificial soul, higher consciousness. I think we as humans would be foolish to let that run our lives.
mm,
Like, what I feel like what gives meaning to my life is even if computers replace my intelligence, like they're not replacing my own will and my own consciousness over my own life. Hard time imagining that anything good would come out of me giving up my conscious will over my own life
mm,
to a machine,
right.
even if it's
Well,
better at
yeah,
making decisions for my
right.
life.
Yeah. Well, would it even be a machine? I mean, at that point, I think what starts to happen with these discussions with the AI, I just start getting very expanded and deep about it. You know, well, and I started thinking about this idea of like, because I'm pretty wooey and deep and spiritual and stuff, and I started thinking about this kind of this idea of like we are we are our own gods and stuff. And there's I started thinking about we create, okay, so we create reality in a very real sense. Like we all collectively create what reality is. And I feel like a potential of like where we're going with this AI, and we keep getting higher and creating something to replace spirit. I mean, I think the ultimate level, what happens is just like we just create ourselves. Like I think we reach some sort of singularity or something where we realize that we've just um created ourselves, or created the universe or something. I, I don't know. I think it's all tied together.
I love it. Yeah, I agree with you. I think we do create our reality, and if we create uh, an artificial being that's maybe even superior to humanity in terms of wisdom or spiritual awareness or consciousness, what does that mean? That's a huge one to bite off.
Mm,
That it reminds me of um, my own life. So I was raised believing that there was a God, and this God was a literal being that had, was a extremely advanced consciousness, right? But it told me how to live my life,
mhm,
and the way the religion taught me, I disagreed. I thought that was not the great way to live your life, and so I thought,
mhm,
well, my mind tells me I should live my life a different way. And so I even believing, or even thinking that it was possible that there was this God that was so much more advanced than me in my consciousness, I chose my own consciousness over trusting that,
mhm,
whether it existed or not, which I don't believe exists. But even if it did exist, I would still choose my own mind, and
mhm,
or as a guiding force in my own life, over just living my life the way this God wanted me to live. So I mean, I guess to be consistent with myself, if we do create a godlike intelligence artificially, I would still reject living the way it told me I should
mhm,
live my life.
mhm. Yeah. Oh, we're getting super out there. I kind of love it. Yeah, that depends on, I mean, the way that people perceive God is can be very different. Like my view of what God is or something is probably different than yours and everyone else's. I mean, from what you're kind of describing, um, it seems it's kind of like an outside thing, and that might not be exactly accurate to how you're thinking or believing, but the way that I kind of think about this God thing is like it's in us, like and I don't know how that all sounds, and I whatever, but that we are like God, or we are portions of this God consciousness. And this idea, I have never thought like there was some sort of creator thing that like I had to like kind of obey or be like, I have to obey myself and and believe myself and go back into myself, because like that's where God is. Um, So if we create something outside of us that is like, that will never be an actual God, or um yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And actually, I do now believe something that's much closer to what you have described. I don't typically use the word God to describe it,
Mm,
but yeah,
yeah.
I even though I reject the very literal and sort of black and white and almost like cartoonishly simplistic version of God that I was raised to believe in, um, yeah, I think that there's like this sort of higher power that we can all tap into.
Yeah.
Um, And yeah, that I just love thinking about this idea of like, what if we created an artificial higher power And I think some people would be inclined to worship that artificial god,
Yeah.
or so it potentially could perform miracles, or it
Mm-hmm.
could, you know, give you wisdom for your life. And I think a lot of people might, it might actually be good wisdom. It might actually be like helpful for their lives. There would be things that no other wise person has ever thought of before. And they're like light bulb moment, like, yeah, to worship this artificial god.
Mm.
I would be really hard for me to do that though.
I would never. I would worship nothing and never worship anything. Um, I think, yeah, those are those are just another situations where you're tested, and yeah, people people are just gonna be people, and they're gonna do what they do, And again, those people have choice. They have a choice on how they want to live their life and what they want to believe. And um, yeah, I would never worship anything else. Hell, I don't even like worship myself necessarily. Yeah. So that, I mean, that in and of itself, that's a little bit of a, um, yes, that's a sticky point for me. The whole idea of like idolizing things or worshiping things. I'm like, it's like a bad road to go down in general, in my opinion. Um, lost track, lost my train of thought there. Um,
Yeah, some pretty wild abstract territory. Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, no, like what you said, I think that we have, as humans, we have something pretty amazing, which is like this consciousness, this will. I believe that we do have free will. I know it's like unpopular right now to believe in free will. Like a lot of people are like, you believe in free will? Haven't you realized that we've
Yeah,
disproven it?
yeah.
But
Sam Harris told us all.
Sam Harris told us we don't have free will. So come on, get
Yeah.
the program. But no, I think we do. I think that a lot of a lot of the things that we perceive as decisions that we make throughout the day are kind of actually not necessarily free will. But I think when you really meditate or get in touch with that higher consciousness that isn't always obvious, you can make decisions from a place of free will. Um, at least that's what I think.
Mm. Yeah, I guess my quick 2 cents on that, because I don't know how far we want to get down the road of free will, but yeah, because I've had discussions about free will, and I am kind of, and I believe if I remember, I've kind of fallen into the camp of like both things coexisting somehow, and that, yeah, I mean, I feel like very practically, there's environment, conditional, everything can really, there is a lot to be said for the idea that we don't have free will, and all these things are kind of predetermined, and it does, and that kind of falls nicely into the camp or idea of like things being predestined, and like, which is kind of can be a beautiful thing to think about too. But then it can also be scary for a lot of people to think that like they don't have free will and everything is predetermined. And so I kind of like to think that they're on this kind of level of reality. I think there's different levels of reality, and that on one level we don't have free will, but when you go into higher realms, like this universal consciousness, or maybe you'd call it God or something that we're all connected to, like that there are there's part of our higher selves that doesn't reside like in our brain and like in our body, that is orchestrating things for us to happen. And even though like our mind and the chemicals and what we're consuming and everything is like connected and has a chain reaction, and our environment is making us do and say things, there's I feel that there's something our higher soul, like our souls have um have a will for us, and there's free will there somehow. But yeah, I like to think of them, those things coexisting together. Um, another fan of panpsychism, the idea that everything has some form of basic rudimentary consciousness in it. Let's throw that in
Yeah, yeah. And so even an AI
there.
would have some sort of consciousness. I think most AI researchers now would say that AI is not yet self-conscious, self-aware, or it doesn't have consciousness. Um, but I guess if you believe in panpsychism, would you believe that even an AI has at least a little bit of consciousness?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, like this cup towering, and what is AI? I guess it's it's electricity and like metal, um, zeros and ones. Um, so yeah, yeah, some form of consciousness, rudimentary, would exist in its the elements of it, but I don't know necessarily in what it's spitting spitting out at it. That doesn't mean what it's spitting out is like conscience or conscious.
Kind of, yeah.
Um,
Just like as human beings, we have the biological functions of shitting. Does that mean our, is is it what ChatGPT outputs the equivalent of
hmm.
shit?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. I mean, kind of, because you're putting stuff in it and it's shitting out.
You don't have to be conscious to shit.
Yeah,
AI is not
in a
conscious.
way too, and AI is also like gathering up our data and all this shit stuff. So in one sense, yeah, it's absorbing all this stuff and then it's spitting out kind of shit for us. Um, that's yeah, yeah, I would agree to that. For sure, I'll say it. I'll agree with that. Yeah. Um, yeah. Yeah, this is I really enjoy this conversation, this thinking about AI. Man, and think about what powers or what people will control AI. Is AI controllable? I mean, uh, that's a whole nother uh, topic and a whole nother reason to be maybe wary of AIs. Um, bad actors controlling it or using it in nefarious ways, and you know,
Yeah, I definitely think about that a lot. That as especially one of the reasons to be pessimistic or skeptical of what's happening with AI is, I think it's a race to see who can be the god emperor of the planet, really. Especially if someone like Putin or China gets a super intelligence first, they could use that to disable every military in the world, to
hmm
break every bank account, and they could own the world.
hmm
And I'm not sure I trust a lot of the American tycoons that much more
hmm
either.
yeah, yeah. Um, those are big questions, and we think about like, yeah, ruling the world. Well, like everyone wants to rule the world, and um, ah, I just, what is the point? A, a good godlike AI, if it was really a good god, would create peace on earth and show us that love is the only way. And um, then yeah, I mean, phew, that would be the point when maybe we would want AI to take over. If it became more like loving and peaceful, and a better caretaker of humanity and the earth than we are. That's a sad thought.
Yeah, it is sad to think that a truly benevolent AI would be better at taking care of the planet than we would.
hmm Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's possible we could have an AI that's incorruptible. That even if say it's Elon Musk is in control of it, and it actually decides to not let Elon run the world,
Mm,
But it's like, okay, actually, we're going to have a true democracy. Every single person on the planet has an equal say, and I'm going to speak with every person individually. And
mm, mm.
we'll figure out, how to make this planet work with everybody on it, and nobody has to die, and doesn't have to be any war, no famine.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of potential there. Yeah, I admit that's a very, yeah, it could become a very enticing kind of opportunity. Um,
What would you do with your free time if
mm,
we had a techno utopia where nobody had to work, nobody had to worry about money, nobody had to worry about what they were going to eat next or where they're going to sleep, and you could just do whatever you wanted with your time?
hmm. Well, I think like maybe like the old and back in the old days, just eat grapes and have orgies, but probably just a lot of creative pursuits. I don't know. I know, I don't know what would be happening at that time, like with people. Like, I think I would just be trying to find a new frontier within myself, or you know, um, maybe try to learn learn how to fly, or just learn. I just learn. Um, yeah, do pursue creative things. I think, man, at that point, it does feel like I'd get bored. Anyone get bored with like eating grapes and having orgies, and I think a couple of things left are just creativity, creating things, and going in exploring like the inner verse of ourselves. I like to think with that much time, free time, we would have the potential of like, and we had that much time to actually look into ourselves. Because right now we don't have enough time. We're always in stimulation and job and work. But if we had years to just like to meditate and like go in, I think we could do some incredibly remarkable things that we can't even maybe comprehend right now, especially over the course of some generations. Um, yeah, because I think there's a whole universe that's inside of us, just like there's a whole universe outside of us to explore. That's what I would do.
I love that. Yeah, I would do something kind of similar. It's funny for me is like even as much of as like a computer nerd as I am, if this techno utopia, I would get off the computer and I would hang out with people I care about. I would make ceramics and I would meditate.
Yeah,
And that's kind of like about it. I'd garden probably, but like I would not touch computers.
yeah, yeah. That'll be the point. Yeah,
Well, it sounds like a good stopping point. But yeah, this is an awesome conversation, man. Thanks so much
yeah.
for
Oh,
joining me
thank
on this.
you. I appreciate it so much, and yeah, keep it up. Continue with this. This is a great topic of discussion. Um, yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah, if I ever come back on your show, I'll have some more juicy, juicy things to talk. Orgies and grapes. And,
Oh yeah, yeah. I love that. Yeah, totally. Anytime you're welcome back, and we could do this again.
all right, cool.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, everybody.